All right, welcome to another Zoomcast of Process and Practice. I have the great honor to have Dr. Gaskins here with us. Dr. Nettrice Gaskins' work explores how to generate art using algorithms in different ways, especially through coding. She also teaches, writes, fabs, or makes, and does other things. She has taught multimedia, computational media, visual art, and even advanced placement computer science principles with high school students who majored in the arts. She earned a BFA in computer graphics with honors from Pratt Institute in 1992 and an MFA in art and technology from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago in 1994. She received a doctorate in digital media from Georgia Tech in 2014. She has taught at the secondary and post-secondary levels in the Boston Public Schools and at Massachusetts College of Art and Design. Currently, Dr. Gaskins is the Assistant Director of the Lesley STEAM Learning Lab at Lesley University. She will publish her first full-length book, Techno-Vernacular Creativity and Innovation, through the MIT Press. Welcome, Dr. Gaskins. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So it's been a crazy year. We explore here sort of what the challenges have been, and we talk about process and practice for artists and designers and educators out there. What have, and I think also, if I'm accurate, you started a new job at Lesley University.
I did.
This, and you've been working on a book. So what have been challenges? How have you been processing things, or how have you been overcoming? And has anything sort of changed in your approach this last year?
I have a show at the Smithsonian in about a few months. So it's been actually pretty good. Most of my work right now, in terms of artist, when I wear the artist hat, is I collaborate with artificial intelligence to produce images. And so that entails having like a photograph, and then, it's going to recreate the image and use, particular styles. So they could be one image or 300 reference images or more, depending on, I keep it simple because I'm really about the output in terms of aesthetics, not so much that's going through 300 images to come up with one composite style. So it's, learning from me, but I'm also learning kind of how the machine works. And then people seem to really like the work. So the Smithsonian got word of it and invited me to be, I think I'm doing 13 images for the Smithsonian exhibition. So it's going to be throughout the show, throughout the building, at least in terms of the exhibition. So it's going to be woven in to the exhibit. And so that's one of the big shows for this year. I also had a show at the Frost Art Museum, which ended late April, and it's called Transfiguration, and it's around Afrofuturism, and I think it was a Stacey Abrams portrait, Nnedi Okorafor, and Octavia Butler, and so which is also an image I'm going to have in the Smithsonian. And so meaning Octavia will be, there are two types of Octavia portraits. One was at the Frost, and I think it's moving around a little bit, and then the other one's going to be at the Smithsonian. And then I got into NFTs, and so last Friday I'm participating with more than 35 digital artists who are coordinating NFT drops, which are part of something called the FIN, in support of clean NFTs. So it's encouraging artists and collectors to transition their NFTs to a low energy consumption blockchain. So my NFTs dropped, I have four of them, including one animation, drop Friday. So lots been going on. Yeah,
that does sound like a lot. And the Smithsonian, that sounds absolutely spectacular. Congratulations on that. I was wondering, just for the audience that might not be aware, or there's usually a mixed understanding, do you mind going a little bit into sort of at least your own personal definition or your own work in Afrofuturism?
Sure. So my first exhibition in Afrofuturism was actually in 2010 with IBM. And so I was doing Second Life virtual 3D space type of stuff. And I was teaching in it too, but I was also showing work. And so I pitched it. They were giving artist residencies. IBM was giving artist residencies. So basically they give you an island and say, go at it for, a few months. And so I decided to pitch the idea of doing Afrofuturism as a simulation, as an exhibition. And so they liked that. So in 2010, right before I transitioned into PhD mode, I had a big show there. And so IBM curated it, and people would show up as avatars, and you would go through this 3D immersive space. And so the idea was to sort of take all of the artifacts that I had picked up from my research in Afrofuturism from Sun Ra, who's like the grandfather of Afrofuturism, who's jazz maverick, who also applied for a residency in NASA, which most people don't know. Just Sun Ra, John Coltrane to some degree, even just where they were referencing stuff from Africa, Outcast, Octavia Butler, just different, whether it's music or literature or art, and just kind of riffing on that. And so you kind of pass through a portal into this kind of world. And so that research that I had been doing at the time was just kind of like, here is a simulation of that. And then also half of it was about utopia, the other half was about dystopia, and it was kind of like a celestial bridge through the middle. And so that was up until close to the end of the summer of 2010. And so Afrofuturism from the literature standpoint, it's like Octavia Butler, Nnedi Okorafor is more of like an African futurist, but some people consider her also an Afrofuturism. On the literature side, it is much about fantasy, it's much about magical realism and sci-fi and speculative fiction and film and things like that, and sound and music, as it is anything else. I come from it from a computational side, the virtual world space, plus the virtual world and the machine learning, artificial intelligence space.
Great, thank you so much for that. Sort of going along those lines and sort of heading into NFTs, can you talk to me a little bit about how you've come to sort of navigate that space? And there's obviously been some articles recently about NFTs and ownership of that space and who owns it and how the commerce happens. And you touched a little bit on, I think, also the environmentalism that's been trying to be sort of part of that as well, as far as the delivery is concerned. But if you could talk a little bit about sort of your foray into NFTs and how you think the whole thing is starting to evolve and where you think it might end up.
Yeah, sure. So in March 2021, everybody went crazy after this dude, Mike Winkelmann, auctioned a piece of his crypto art at Christie's for $69 million. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened, people started really looking at crypto art and in that under that umbrella, NFTs. And so I saw an artist I met once, I think when I was at Sundance, a New Frontier artist, Young Jake. He made like $24,000. I watched him do that in like a few hours on Foundation, his NFT stuff. And Young Jake is actually, he makes emoji art. So he makes art that's easily made into that kind of stuff. But so crypto art is like Bitcoin in the physical form of art. It's like combination of art, technology, and money. So, what's really interesting is your art kind of becomes currency on the blockchain. And NFT stands for non-fungible token. It's stored on a global database. So if you think of blockchains like a digital ledger, and NFTs are items on that ledger. And so I, somewhere around the way, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I minted my first NFT, and it's sold out in like 15, 20 minutes. And then that was it. I was off to the races on NFTs after that. Also, I just wanted to say, the only reason why I got into it, I was actually not very interested in it because of this gas, the energy that it takes, the gas consumption. Right. And the person who showed me how to use it, he wasn't going to do it either until he found a clean NFT blockchain marketplace, which is called Hekik Nunk, or Here and Now. So all the cool artists are going towards Hekik Nunk and sites like it that are clean or eco-friendly.
Yeah, and that on the eco-friendly piece, that's what I was going to follow up with, is just to explain maybe a little bit to people who might not understand sort of how is it consuming, like what is it that's consuming the power that's not eco-friendly when it comes to doing I guess what you would call, it's actually not it's kind of funny to call it mainstream NFT, but but sort of what the difference is between what you came to and what a lot of people started at.
Yeah, Bitcoin, something like for one Bitcoin transaction is what maybe 5 transatlantic flights.
Oh, wow.
Or more. It may actually be more than that. And then Ethereum is the next one after that, which is really popular. It's kind of flashy sites, where the big bucks, people are making the big money on, like Foundation and Super Rare and stuff like that. Those NFT, Ethereum's like 1 transatlantic flight for 1 ETH. Tez or Tezos is what we're on Hekik Nunk. And it is, I think, like if I got on a bike or rolled the car to the end of my block.
Oh, wow.
So
huge difference. Huge.
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. These are things that are not, I mean, I think regular people reading this stuff that aren't in it don't really get the impact, right, that the Bitcoin situation has. So thanks for bringing that to light a little bit for people.
And I think it's important to also note that someone gifted me 2 Tez, which is about $8. And in 15 minutes, I made $300 in US dollars. In 2 days, I made $1,000. So I've never, ever put money in my wallet. Someone gifted me 2 Tez. And now I have, $13,000 to $15,000 in the wallet of US dollars. So that's, why people are really getting into it.
Doing it. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's incentive. Absolutely. One thing I wanted to make sure that I covered before we wrap things up was to kind of talk about your book. And if you could give us a little bit of some understanding about, and I'll just say one more time, the title, Techno-Vernacular Creativity and Innovation, which is be published from MIT Press. Is that out yet? Is it about to be, or when do you foresee it being published?
It will be published probably, well, I think August 10th is the release date.
Okay.
So if you go to Amazon, I think it's even on the website, at Target, maybe Walmart. So you can get it in many other places. Someone got it at their independent local bookstore. So in terms of pre-ordering it, so it's pretty much out there. Okay. And so what's been really cool is that it is a book that is basically my PhD work.
Okay. Oh, great.
And so made into a book. And so it's my first book, and it is really looking at it's both practice and both research. So it's for scholars, but it's also for teachers. So there's kind of split down the middle. And it looks at contributions from African American, Latino, and Indigenous people and STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And so the book is really focused on that and looks at those practices and comes up with sort of a toolkit to use if you want to then, of course, teach in a classroom or teach in a learning setting. And so that book is, so that's the book. So that's coming out in August.
Well, it's good that sometimes well, I know the doctoral work sometimes it sits on the shelf, right? So that's great that it's actually found a new life, and I'm sure probably expanded based on your own experience postdoctoral. So we'll be looking out for that August 10th from MIT Press. So thank you so much. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. It's a short time, but these are some new things, some new ideas that I just wanted to make sure got out there. And for our students, especially who will take a look at this, be able to learn a little bit about these things that are going to start popping up and becoming more mainstream as time goes on. So thank you so much, Dr. Gaskins, for spending this brief but really productive time with us today.
Yes, thank you.
All right, appreciate it very much.